320 something beats that I've never used. That never, like fucking never used. And when I saw that, I remember that around 2000, I say 2006, 2007, I was mainly, more of a DJ on the road. I was working with some up and coming reggaeton artists. I was working a lot in East Side Record Studios. It was just in Macau, and there I had another mentor figure that was Angel Garcia, otherwise known as DJ DC. And DJ DC, it was funny because DJ DC taught me more on melodic structures, made me a better. He pulled all the bases that Hebreo did, and he blew it all the water. He was chilling. He taught me techniques on the samplers, and when I went through DJ DC, I was like, I felt like I could make any sample on my pitch or something like that. I didn't want to use that term. It was like in fucking the tip of my tongue, but I felt I dominate the whole thing. So I think moving on forward, that gave me enough trust to build up and work on these areas specifically. So I started getting on the road more. I started doing more stuff. I was getting more gigs and having the experience of Marta de Galeria. I could be doing 100. I never went like less of 100 people gigs, and I could do all the way up to the typical thousands. So it was really great from that part. But I felt like I was like everybody else puppet at that time. So I make a beat. I didn't even collect money for making the beats. I never even did something like that. So as we move on, so I had those. I had more gigs. I was less afraid, but feeling like I was leaving behind, and like also was like way behind. I felt like I was like a psychic or something like that. And I'm gonna be completely honest. That's some of the parts in which I can be kind of a dick myself. But I wanted a project not only because of that, because I enjoy being any part of the stage as long as I'm performing. I don't give a flying rat's ass or a fuck if I'm in the corner, if I'm in the behind back. I've been in so many areas of a stage, on the corner, in front of a stage, down, but in the public side, I don't care. I don't care. As long as I'm doing my thing and I'm feeling myself, I didn't give a fuck. So I was started to feel like in the side of when I was doing reggaeton that I was really doing really well in the studio, but not so wise on the live level. So, and that's when I started experimenting once again of making electronic music. It happened the same thing that it happened with the beats. I went to a point that I could set up a complete beat or bass of a beat so someone could sing to it in less than 20-50 minutes. So I was making so much beats. That was in the time that I even felt that if I charged somebody for one of those beats like money, I felt at that time that I was stealing money for people, because it was something that came so easy to me at the time. I didn't have many of the things that I have now, that I have a family, I have a lot of people to take care of. I didn't have this maturity that I have right now. So I remember I had friends of mine, up-and-coming singers, that I could give in like 10 beats a week for free. 10 beats. I could give you a whole album in a week for free. So that was what I was doing, but I was getting more close to the electronic genres, and I was starting to venture out as a DJ. That's when I met Paul Izquierdo, who was the person who helped me out to break through to the side of being myself as an artist. Even though I started working in some tag-along projects that they were really good at the time, but they weren't quite me. He was a person that helped me to branch out as Macedon. I also had Joshua Quintana, who was a real good friend of mine, who made the original old Macedon logo, and the rest is history. I went into had many gigs. I had a residency, sort of a residency in Pagana, and it was one of the hottest clubs that was at the time. Was competing with Club Brava, which is the main top club in Puerto Rico. So that you know, Puerto Rico had a really healthy club scene starting the 2000s. Were clubs in Atorrey, there were clubs everywhere, literally. In Old San Juan only, you could be seeing around like 3-4 main clubs. There were neons that turned into dinones, there were Haras, and there was Laser too. So Puerto Rico had a really huge ass club scene that sadly to this day is non-existent as it is like everywhere. So moving on from that, even though I was getting a lot of gigs, I was like, same thing that happened with Martes de Galeria. I had something really good going on, and then I started to get curious if I could make something else. And the thing is that it was, again, I could earn some money, but once again, I was kind of a fucked up at the time, so I wasn't saving a lot. So that makes most of my gigs were in the metropolitan area, and it was really hard. So I made it all look at the time that it was like this epiphany that I had to bring electronic music to the east side of the island, but it was mostly going through a necessity of the time, because I tried, what Macedon has become right now, it's just, and behind this microphone is honestly what it is. Nothing less, nothing more. But when we kept moving and I started doing gigs here, it was like going to college all over again. Because here, people could hear in the east side of the island, people could hear like electronic music, like 3 tracks tops. After that, you have to change the music. If you don't change the music, you're going to be fucked up for the rest of the set. You're going to have people bad-eyeing you. You could be getting into a little bit of trouble. And I was really hesitant because at that time, I'm talking now, we're in 2010. At that time, I was really resistant to play tropical music, meaning like salsa, merengue, bachata. I was like really meaningful of not playing those genres. I didn't care of playing a little bit of reggae here and there, because the good thing about reggae is that you can mix it with hip hop, and hip hop you can mix it with drum and bass due to what we were talking earlier about the BPMs, because for many examples, hip-hop mostly could be between 80, 85, it could go all the way up to 95. But the thing is with hip-hop is that if you double the time, let's say, for example, you go 164 BPM to 170 BPM, you are still in the 80 BPM range. It's just that you double the velocity so you can make better composition. So that's why I didn't have a problem with reggae. I didn't have a problem with rock, because rock goes in both ways. Rock, you can find a lot of rock goes around 120 BPM. It could go all the way. There's even rock that has gone into the 200 BPM mark. So when you get salsa, at the time I didn't know something really curious about salsa. Salsa is the same BPM as hip hop. Is around 82, 84 specifically. There's some cases, but it doesn't. If it goes beyond 86, it starts sounding like merengue. So the main BPMs for salsa, it's stuck between 82 to 86 BPMs. And I learned that the hard way, because I was having like a lot of struggles with the owners of the place that I was playing at that time, and one of the complaints was that. So when I figured that out, then it went on, and I started becoming from a reggaeton DJ fusion to an EDM DJ to an open format DJ. And I started getting a little bit, having fun with the sets, having a lot of fun with them. But then at that time, I had a tower. I was going through, I think it was my last PC, and I wasn't making so much progress because I was doing a lot of stuff at that time. I was running marketing for this same place that I was playing. I was there 24/7. I was in charge of every visual aspect of the business at that time. So I was like a marketing manager for the business that I was playing, for the place that I was playing at that time. Besides that, there were days that I could do a gig at 8 p.m., do another gig in San Juan around 12 p.m., and then do a final gig at 4 a.m. in the morning. So when you're wondering how a DJ can play 300 plus gigs a year, there you go. You could be playing 3 gigs a night. In a weekend, I know a lot of people, they could be playing 8 gigs. Some of them they have playing, most of them they don't know what the fuck sleep is. And it's really bad because it's going to take a toll on their bodies eventually. I know it has played quite a little bit of a number on mine. But when we move on from that, it was around 2014, and here we are in the same spot of Martes de Galeria, in the same spot of Transition again. I didn't have much of the transportation problem that I had before, but I was like 4 years into the gig, and it was tiring. It was becoming the same monotone thing, because the thing is in Puerto Rico is that business go way. They don't play the card of educating their customers on their food, or educating customers on cultural manners and music. And that was the whole point of the club. For example, I remember Club Laser, you did not have, many of the clubs that we had in Puerto Rico, you did not have a direct access to the DJ. That was like unheard of, this whole thing about requests, people making requests. There's something that's called, in the United States, it's called a jukebox. In Puerto Rico, it's called a bellonera. You have that for that shit. A DJ's job is to make sure that you have fun, to make a track list that you can recognize, because I had to learn that part of being a DJ the hard way, as I told you. But in the meantime that you are making these people have fun, educating them and giving them another options of what they could be hearing, and other options of more music that they could listen to. Because it's a dual job. You have to be fulfilling all of these requests, but in the same time educating these people and making a balance between that and creating a bond of trust. But all the way up to the pandemic, the problem is that if you did not play the song that the person wanted at a certain specific time, and that person knows the person who owns the business, they're gonna be coming at you and start fucking around. Oh, you have to put that song, that's a dear client. And it's really fucked up when that happens, because you as a DJ, you set up the whole night. You have been a whole week long setting up a perfect night so nobody fucked up. Nobody will come with fucking requests. Nobody will come fucking bothering you. And then it comes the owner, the person who is responsible having you here, making your job even harder. And don't even think about charging him more for his bullshit, because you're gonna lose that gig. And that's how it works. It's even sad in Puerto Rico when you see in the United States. I've seen people that are starting up and having gigs of around $1,000. Without sound equipment, without a PA equipment, and they're making $1,000. And in Puerto Rico, if you want to play in the scene, you have to do. And I know this is something that is really normal in many places, but in Puerto Rico specifically, you give your gigs for free for almost a year. You don't see money for almost a year, and when you start seeing money, it's around $50. It's not enough if you're a head of a family to survive. Many of the well-established DJs in Puerto Rico, they have other ventures, they have other jobs. They range on from selling cars to even being chemists. I know a lot of professional people who are DJs, and a lot of professional people who have gotten their jobs to make a career in music, singers as well. But that's how it was. Now this whole pandemic, it gives the structure. As I was talking in the Showbiz Pandemic episode, it gives us the platform so we can set the standards on how and when and and exactly how are we gonna collect and how are we gonna make our gigs happen? Now it has to be online. We have to do all this shit and whatever. But